so that I don't have to get emails coming. The question is, Sheikh, why do you no longer visit Britain? And why do you no longer visit the United States and Canada and Europe and Australia and these countries and India and now even Pakistan? There are large numbers of Muslims in these countries who would dearly love for you to come. Even France, where they speak French. And they are constantly inviting me, and I am constantly declining. And they want to know why. And my answer is that I do so for the same reason that Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam made hijrah from Makkah. Why did he leave Makkah? Answer: because of a problem of security. And I choose not to go to these countries because of a problem of security. That's my first answer. And I should have the freedom to decide what is security for me. But there's also a second reason. And it is this, that in these countries you have governments which have sent their armed forces into Iraq, into Afghanistan and other countries. And these armed forces are waging unjust war on my people, barbarian war on my people, war with no law of ethics, war which does not discriminate between combatants and non-combatants. War in which you kill women and kill children and destroy homes and kill innocent people, and you don't care at all about it. You call that collateral damage. Islam has a higher standard of morality than that. Islam has something far superior to offer to mankind, an ethics of warfare which is far superior to your barbarian ethics of warfare. And so, out of respect for the blood of my people, out of respect for those who are fighting you so courageously, sometimes only with stones in their hands, out of respect for them and in solidarity with them, I choose not to put my foot in your territory. I do not do so with arrogance. I do so with profound sadness, because the civilization which today controls the world is now being hijacked and being taken on a road which will destroy all of mankind. The next question is, why don't you visit Singapore? And while many of you already know it, there are some who do not. And so let me make an explanatory comment. I have had profound affection for Singapore because my teacher's teacher, Maulana Abdul Alim Siddiqui rahimahullah, visited Singapore many times in the 1920s, 1930s. And indeed, there is a masjid in Singapore which has been built and named Masjid Abdul Alim Siddiqui, rahimahullah. And his student, Maulana Dr. Muhammad Fadlur Rahman Ansari, who was my teacher. He was sent to Singapore in 1935 when he was just 21 years of age, to spend 1 year in Singapore preaching Islam. And because I am the third in the line, I always had this desire in my heart to visit Singapore and to continue the work that they had begun. I visited Singapore for the first time in 1988, and I was very warmly welcomed by the Muslim community. And I continued visiting Singapore until 9/11. And by that time, by Allah's kindness and grace, I had already become perhaps the most popular speaker on Islam in Singapore, in the English language. But when 9/11 took place, the Muslim community of Singapore responded by flooding to my lectures in such large numbers that no hall could accommodate them. And people would have to go back home because there was no space in a huge hall. The government of Singapore responded through the organization that they controlled by then denying me a permit to speak. That is Singaporean democracy. So I'm not allowed to speak. I can enter the country, but I cannot speak. Shame on you, Singapore. Shame on you. I don't speak with bitterness. I speak with sadness that you should deny a scholar of Islam the freedom to speak. So then we chose to use a small room that could accommodate about 40-50 people. And I would give a talk for about 45 minutes, and they would leave, and then another group would come. But there were 300-400 people outside waiting to come. So then I got a message, you're breaking the law. Well then, we started giving talks in people's apartment, in the sitting room with about a dozen people present. And then finally they decided that they cannot allow me to enter the country. So the only country in the world, the only one in the whole world, which denies me entry into the country is Singapore. And I have a message for Singapore. You have pursued a terribly foolish policy, terribly foolish, in becoming Israel's greatest ally in this region. It was terribly foolish of you to become little Israel, because you were not looking far enough ahead. You could not anticipate that Israel is one day going to wage great wars. And from the time Israel starts these great wars, this entire region in which Singapore is located would be in flames, in flames. Those great wars are about to start. Maybe this year, maybe next year. And when those great wars start, I feel sad for you, Singapore. What is the fate which now awaits you?